I read this absolutely delicious book when I was 14. I wasn't supposed to read it. My mom bought it, she read it, and she loved it. But I think she felt that it wasn't appropriate for a 14-year-old. So she told me, don't read this book, which obviously meant I had to read it. She looked at my face and realized that the warning was not enough, so she hid it. She hid it on the top shelf of her cupboard, which was this old squeaky steel almari. Now, my mom used to take an afternoon nap every day for about an hour. And on the first day, it took me exactly 10 minutes to find the book. So every day, I would sneak into her room while she was napping, open that squeaky almari, take out the book, read it, and then repeat the whole process of, putting it back in that squeaky almari. I also realized that I could only read for half an hour because anything more than that would be risky. She may wake up. But trust me, putting that book back after half an hour was super difficult because it was such an engrossing plot. The book, If Tomorrow Comes, by Sidney Sheldon. It was also the first time at 14 I was reading a fairly adult author, Sidney Sheldon, and I absolutely loved it. The book is about Tracy, who's a young, happily engaged woman who works at a bank, but she is framed by a group of men who work for the New Orleans Mafia, and she lands up going to prison. So the first 30% of the book is actually about her life in prison, and it is fairly graphic. And my mom may have been right, it may not be appropriate for a 14-year-old, but I was absolutely involved and invested in that book. When she comes out of jail, her first agenda is to take revenge on those men, and she does it beautifully. Once she's done with the revenge, she doesn't know what to do with her life. So she meets this person who says that you already have a criminal record. Why don't you just become a criminal, become a con artist? I have a plan for you, which is what she does. And the book is about each heist that she does, which keeps growing in scale and audacity, and it is so interesting and so well written and no loopholes at all. At 14, Tracy quickly became my role model and heroine because, she literally rose from the ashes, and she was this brave, courageous, sassy woman, and I loved her. My memories of this book may be impacted by the fact that I read it when I was 14, and it was also the first Sidney Sheldon that I read. But trust me, I would revisit it again because it is a beautifully written book. I also feel that Sheldon's language sometimes can be very colorful, and his description of certain scenes can also be very, very colorful, but we are adults, right? So that's perfectly okay. I would highly recommend this book because it is so beautifully written. The characters are etched out beautifully, and the entire plot and the subplots, which includes the heists, are so well written and so gripping that you will find yourself getting invested and involved. It's the sort of book that even if your attention span today is falling, you will be able to read it right up till the end because it is a very gripping book. Sheldon writes masala plots, but he does it with a lot of intelligence and a lot of depth. I like all of Sidney Sheldon's novels. I've read them all, but this to me has been the most impactful, perhaps because it is the first Sidney Sheldon that I read. But having said that, I may have read it at 14, but today I would easily revisit it and reread it because it is such an amazingly interesting, captivating novel. So go read If Tomorrow Comes by Sidney Sheldon.